Welcome to What I Do Believe, a podcast about moving forward. If you've left old beliefs behind but are tired of constantly critiquing those who haven't, and you're ready to step into what's next, this podcast is for you. No drama, no hot takes, just an honest search for what's good, true, and worth believing. I'm Zach, a writer and spiritual director, and I'm glad you're here. Let's move forward together. You ever broken up with somebody and instead of actually moving on, you keep checking their Instagram, you bring them up in every conversation, you analyze what they're doing, what they're still saying, what their new relationships are like, and you tell yourself you're over it, but in reality you're not. You're still obsessed, and everybody around you can see it. You say you don't care about them anymore, but you're still thinking about them and talking about them all the time. You're still keeping tabs. You still have their name sitting on the back of your mind and just waiting for an opportunity to bring them up, to criticize them or prove how you're better than them or, your life is better without them, so on and so forth. This is what I see happening with so many people who have deconstructed or moved on or left fundamentalism, evangelicalism, megachurch culture, whatever form of Christianity they have walked away from. They have technically left, but they're still watching, still keeping tabs, still reacting to everything that goes on in those worlds. And I've been there. I get that. In years past, in particular during the pandemic, I've been the person consuming every hot take about how bad my old faith spaces were. I've been the person doom scrolling through the latest cringeworthy sermon clips from a pastor I stopped listening to years ago, watching the deconstruction influencers responding to every single thing that comes out from those spaces, offering criticism. And I've even dabbled in posting my own hot takes, jumping in, adding my angry, critical voice to the noise. And I've spent a lot of time doing that in years past. And it never made me feel any better. In fact, continuing to engage, even from a critical perspective, just continued to fuel the anxiety I was feeling, more frustration, and just really kept me stuck. Because that's what this way of living does. It's an illusion to think that constantly critiquing something, constantly posting about what's wrong with it, what's wrong with the world, it's an illusion to think that becoming a critic is actually doing something or contributing towards positive change. It might not be inherently wrong, but I do think in the grand scheme of things, it accomplishes very little other than just stirring the pot and keeping you emotionally tethered to the thing that you've supposedly left and moved on from. And let's be honest, this kind of content or this kind of engagement thrives online. Some of the biggest voices in post-evangelical and deconstruction spaces are just constantly calling out bad takes, constantly calling out harmful theology, just nothing but reaction videos to what people in those spaces are still doing. And why is this such a popular trend? Why is this what we see, being the most dominant kind of thing happening in post-deconstruction spaces? It's because it gets engagement. People eat it up. And I'm not saying that those criticisms are always wrong. In fact, a lot of the time, for what I've seen, they're dead on. It's not that their perceptions are incorrect, but it is feeding into this cycle of ongoing criticism, ongoing negativity. And when I really think about it, who actually benefits from constantly engaging in that way of thinking and that type of engagement? The content creator, right? The person who is putting this content out there, probably the reason they keep producing videos and and blogs that are just doing nothing but criticizing evangelicalism or fundamentalism or, Christianity in general. The reason they keep doing that is because it gets engagement. It gets their views higher. It gets their likes higher. They do it because you keep watching. And the more you watch, the more influence they have, perhaps the more money they make. I'm not sure if there's a lot of money in post-deconstruction, online influencers. But, so maybe they benefit from that. But the people who are, watching that content, who are engaging, who are following them, it might seem like we are benefiting from constantly watching all those criticisms and those critiques, but the reality is we're just getting a constant stream of negativity in our feed. It's just negativity disguised as progressive faith, disguised as deconstruction, disguised as healing, disguised as leaving behind harmful beliefs. But really, it's just criticism and negativity, and that takes a toll. It keeps you in a posture of reaction where your faith, if you can even call it that anymore, it's still tethered to the very thing you claim you hate so much, the very thing you claim has caused you so much harm, the very thing you claim you've walked away from. And I get why this happens. When you first leave something, it feels like your whole world is shifting. Everything is up for grabs. And so you cling to other people who have been through similar experiences than you. You cling to people who get it. You want to hear from other people who have been there, who see what you see, who see the harm, who see the problems, who offer the criticism. It gives you a sense of belonging and solidarity to follow and engage with people who can name the things that feel so wrong. But if years have gone by and you're still in that space, still constantly talking about what's wrong with evangelicalism, still reposting every dumb thing some megachurch pastor says and reaction videos criticizing it or making fun of it even, if you're still keeping tabs on what your old faith communities are up to, what those churches are up to, despite what you might claim, you actually haven't left. You actually haven't moved on. You're still stuck. They still have a piece of real estate in your mind. And I don't know about everybody else, but I personally don't want to live like that anymore. If we've broken up with fundamentalism or evangelicalism or megachurch culture or whatever it is, whatever form of Christianity it might be, if we've broken up with them, we need to actually move on. We need to just stop checking up on them, stop keeping tabs. We need to stop shit-talking them to all our friends, maybe unfollow all the funny meme pages that just repost what they do, making fun of them. We need to stop because that's not freedom. That's not healing. And I can already hear some of the criticism, some of the pushback. I can hear people saying, but Zach, we have to call this stuff out. We have to warn people. We have to keep holding bad theology accountable. And believe me, I understand. I get that too. There is a time and place for speaking up. There is a time and place for naming harm. But if all you ever do, if that's all you're doing, all you're focused on is just naming what's wrong, then you're never going to have the energy to actually move towards what's right. If your whole faith, if your whole identity is wrapped up in what you don't believe, you're never going to be able to step fully into what you do. And that's the point of this podcast. I do not want to spend my life only talking about what I don't believe anymore. I want to talk about what I do believe. I want to explore where life is, where love is, where God is, because that's what matters. That's where I think my focus should be, and perhaps where all of our focus should be. And part of moving on and truly letting go and not keeping tabs on those people, places, and things anymore, that means, dare I say it, forgiveness. A willingness to forgive and move on, not because these churches or pastors or institutions deserve it. They probably don't. Not because we think that they're ever going to change, and not because we think that they are going to apologize. But perhaps it's time to forgive, not for them, but for us. Perhaps it's time to forgive because you deserve to be free. I deserve to be free. Forgiveness is not about saying, what happened was okay. It's about refusing to let it keep controlling you. It's about severing the tie and moving on. So what if instead of endlessly critiquing what we left behind, what if we actually moved on and moved forward? What if instead of focusing on, where life and love and goodness aren't, we focus on where it is? That's what this podcast is for. So if that's where you are, if you're ready to move forward, welcome, and thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to What I Do Believe. This podcast is an Aramos production, nonprofit creating space for reflection, spiritual growth, and honest conversation about faith and life. Music featured in this podcast is by Ivan Elsasser, the Symbology Cinematics YouTube channel. If this episode resonated with you, consider subscribing, sharing it with a friend, and leaving a review in your podcast player of choice. It helps more people find the show. Want to connect? Visit aramosnashville.com or join our online community at aramos.community, where people from all backgrounds come together to explore faith, doubt, and everything in between. And if you'd like to support the show or Aramos and the work we're doing, you can donate at aramosnashville.com/donate. Every bit helps us continue creating spaces for real conversations and deeper connections. Wherever you are on the journey, keep moving forward to what's good, true, and full of life. I'm Zach, and I'll see you next time.